Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Harinam Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantarat Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naranjaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nasta priyeshu badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki tatara jastamo bhava kamalo bhadayastaye chetaya tairana vidam sitvam satve prasidati. Pajantyanya manaso bhagavat bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnana mukta sangasya jayate. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 4th Canto, 6th Chapter. Brahma satisfies Lord Shiva. Text number 34. Sanandanadyayar Mahasiddhai, Sanandanadyayar Mahasiddhai, Santai Sangshanta Vigraham, Shantai Sangshanta Vigraham, Upasyamanam Sakya Cha, Upasyamanam Sakya Cha, Bhartra Guyakarakshasam, Bhartra Guyakarakshasam, Sanandanadyayar Mahasiddhai, Shantai Sangshanta Vigraham, Upasyamanam Sakya Cha, Bhartra Guyakarakshasam, Sanandanadyayar Mahasiddhai, Shantai Sangshanta Vigraham, Shantai Sangshanta Vigraham,
Upasyamanam Sakya Cha, Bharta
Rakshasam. Ladies? Anybody? Sanandanadyayar Mahasiddhai, Davigraham, Upasyamanam Sakya Cha, Bhartra Guyakarakshasam, Sanandana Adyai. The four Kumaras headed by Sanandana. Mahasiddhai, liberated souls. Shantai, saintly. Sangshanta Vigraham, the grave and saintly Lord Shiva. Upasyamanam, was being praised. Sakya, by Kuvera. Cha, and. Bhartra, by the master. Guyakarakshasam, of the Guyakas anti-Rakshasas. Translation of Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Shiva sat there surrounded by saintly persons like Kuvera, the master of the Guyakas and the four Kumars, who were already liberated souls. Lord Shiva was grave and saintly. Purport. The personalities sitting with Lord Shiva are significant because the 4 Kumaras were liberated from birth. It may be remembered that after their birth, these Kumaras were requested by their father to get married and beget children in order to increase the population of the newly created universe, but they refused. And at that time, Lord Brahma was angry. In that angry mood, Rudra, or Lord Shiva, was born. Thus they were intimately related. Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, is fabulously rich. Thus Lord Shiva's association with the Kumaras and Kubera indicates that he has all transcendental and material opulences. Actually, he is the qualitative incarnation of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his position is very exalted. Sanandanadyayar mahasiddhai shantai sangshanta vigraham upasyamanam sakyacha bhartra guyaka rakshasam. Lord Shiva sat there surrounded by saintly persons like Kuvera, the master of the Guyakas, and the 4 Kumaras, who were already liberated souls. Lord Shiva was grave and saintly. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamhayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadamaham vande Sri Gurudinataranam Paramananda Maravam Sri Chaitanyeshwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. A man is known by the company he keeps. Lord Shiva is residing in this very luxurious place under this massive tree in the company of the 4 Kumaras. The 4 Kumaras are the firstborn sons of Lord Brahma. When Brahma desired to create progeny, population, he created the 4 Kumaras and he wanted them to populate the universe. Yet as it is commented upon by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, they refused to do so. How can they refuse the order of their father? They were very saintly, they were very obedient, they were very exalted personalities. Yet they decided that it was more important to practice spiritual life and to be a role model in that way. Lord Brahma, being a qualitative incarnation of the mode of passion, he got angry because his desire was thwarted. He was obstructed in his plans of populating the universe. His anger manifested from his forehead in the form of Rudra. Lord Shiva was born in that way. So, as it is explained here, that the 4 Kumaras and Lord Shiva, they're very intimately related. And who else is there? Haribo. Kuvera. Who is Kuvera? He is the treasurer of the demigods. So he's also in charge of the Guyakas and the Rakshasas. They're under his control. So Kuvera is a very powerful personality, and he's also present. So we can see that Lord Shiva is surrounded by the most spiritually advanced and by the most materially advanced personalities of the universe. That was his company. Tasyaravindhanayasya padaravinda kinjalka mishra. In that verse it says that when the breeze of the tulsi leaves of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of the 4 Kumaras, they experienced a change both in their body and mind, even though they were already situated in Brahman realization. So the Kumaras were situated in transcendence. But when they had darshan of Lord Vishnu, something changed. Where did they get darshan of Lord Vishnu?
Smelling.
Yeah, but where? When does it happen? Historically. At the gates of Vaikuntha, yes. When they wanted to get into the gates of Vaikuntha. And there was these two fellows there who said, nope, you can't come in here. No naked boys allowed. And they became upset. But because their anger is beneficial for everyone, they're part of the Lord's plan. So, Jai and Vijay were cursed. Vishnu personally came out to save his gatekeepers so they would not be destroyed and lost. And as they were smelling that breeze of those tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord, something changed. They became transformed because the Lord's transcendental potency is unlimited. So even though the Kumaras were already situated in transcendence, but there is higher levels of transcendence. Paranti tat tatvidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. Now why is good not good enough? To be good, to do good. Why is good not good enough? Sometimes people say just be a good person, right? Just tue recht und scheue niemand. No? Just do good deeds, avoid bad deeds, and you will be fine. Why is being good not good enough?
Because love means what yesterday was good is today not good enough.
Okay. What else?
Because good and bad are still material concepts.
Yes, there's still the same coin, and it can flip at any moment to the other side. Why else? You get entangled in the good. What is the conditioning of goodness according to the Bhagavad Gita? This is Bhakti Shastri Plus here. You got to earn your breakfast. Huh? Yes. Why do you become proud in the mode of goodness? Pride is not a very good quality. So how can you become proud if you're a good person?
You're conditioned by the sense of happiness.
You feel that Pascho, alles im Griff, alles gut, everything fine, everything perfect. I don't need this. I'm good. Huh? And what else? Sense of happiness. What else conditions you?
Sense of superiority.
Why would that sense of superiority be there? What would be the cause of that sense of superiority? When you think that you know, then you feel yourself superior. You think, oh, I already heard these verses. I already know what this guy's talking about. I know where this class is going. But no, you don't, because this is just the prelude. This is just the warm-up, just to make you a little attentive. So as soon as these three words appear on the screen of our mind, I already know all learning stops. Because we're done. As soon as you think you're done, you're done. You can hand in your test result. You're done. So that's why good is not good enough, to just be a good person. Also because Krishna he has different ways of interacting with people. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatamam prapadyante tang sataiva bhajamyaham mamaartmanuvartante manushya partha sarvachaha. As people surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. He also says, everyone is on my path. How can Krishna say that? Everyone's on my path. Seems like a lot of people are pretty lost. They don't seem to be on any path. But actually everyone is on Krishna's path. Because they're either following through the internal or through the external energy. Nothing is outside of the Lord's control, outside of His scope. Yet if a living entity desires to be more intimately related with the Lord makes arrangements so that the living entity can get into closer contact with Him. And He does so through His internal potency, which is manifesting through Śrīmati Radharani, through Lord Nityananda, through the spiritual master. Brahmande Brahmite Kona Bhagavana Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhaktilata Bij. When we are on our little trail, on our little wandering through the material world, at some point we get tired and we become fed up. Now, of course, it's very easy then to just become frustrated and say, it's all bad. Sour grapes. There's nothing there. Yet, if we're fortunate, we come in the association of devotees. And it will say, hey, try this. You've tried everything. Why don't you try this? You got nothing to lose. And an inquisitive soul who is prasada leshanu grihita evahi janasya tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya ikopi chiran vichinban. According to Lord Brahma, only with a slitter, a fraction, a molecule of mercy of the Lord which manifests through the devotee, only because of that can one actually become connected to devotional service. We're all sitting here today because of the sacrifices, the prayers, and the tears of our ancestors. Otherwise we wouldn't be here, because this place is built by their sacrifices. This movement is built by their sacrifices. So, and by appreciating their efforts, we can connect to their heart. What is their heart? Their heart is devotional service. Their heart is Krishna consciousness. Just like I remember being here at the farm on several occasions, and Haravapu Prabhu would go out of his way. He would go way out of his way to serve prasadam to the devotees. Whether it be here or it be in Munich or wherever he used to meet him, he would always procure the best possible ingredients and cook wonderful feasts for the pleasure of the Lord and His devotees. Now, Haravapu Prabhu was not a scholar. He was not a very prominent, a very well-known devotee on an international scale. Yet those who knew him and those who had the fortune of associating with him saw how Krishna conscious he was, because he had realized the joy of serving devotees. And it was very captivating, it was very compelling to be in his association. And he was always happy, he was always joyful, he was always jolly. And whenever people would talk about non-Krishna conscious topics, he would usually just be silent, not pay attention. He was pretty fixed in his resolve of what was his way of service. He was not confused. From a material perspective, he was raising funds, he was supporting the efforts of the Krishna conscious movement. Yet, because of his simplicity and because of his dedication and his non-duplicitous attitude, he captured the hearts of many devotees. So, here Lord Shiva is in the association of the four Kumars and of Kuvera. And this shows to us that you can be a spiritual person, but you can't be on the topmost rung unless you have exalted association. I visited an old friend, and I was previously quite close to him, but then over the time, our lives went in different directions, and we didn't spend much time together. And the last few times I met him, I was not so excited. I felt like we were not really understanding each other Or as they say in California, I was not feeling the love. So I went to see him in his place, and we sat, and I appreciated him because he's got many good qualities. He's very accomplished, he's a great scholar, he's doing great preaching, he's energetic, many things. And I said that the last few times we met, I thought it was not so great, so I think I have done something that offended or upset you, because our exchange was not really heartfelt. And he paused for a moment, he said, no, actually there was nothing. If there would have been something, I would remember it, because I remember those kind of things. So I have to conclude, he said, that I must have said or done something that upset you. And I said, no, also there was nothing. And we both concluded, most likely, we were just too busy doing whatever we thought needed doing, being productive, putting scores up on the board. Jai, Sri Sri Paranishingadev Ki Jai. But we were not really that much in tune, that much sensitive to the other person and to the other person's need. So, that evening he invited me to share the mic and to teach a class together with him for his students. And we were kind of going back and forth, passing the mic, and he probably had 57% of mic time and I had 43%, which was fine. It's his place, it's his students. But for the students it was quite interesting, because they realized that our teacher, he's got friends. And that was a new experience. Because normally he's the man, he's the guy, he's the teacher. But all of a sudden there was another chair next to him, and there was another person who he shared with, and it was quite an interesting scenario. And I could see how for them it was kind of a new experience, a new revelation. So here in the Bhagavatam we see many of these incidences where this sadhu sangha is being highlighted. Just like Lord Vishnu, he appeared and he told the Prachetas that I'm very pleased not just by your austerities but by your great friendship and collaboration amongst yourself. The Prachetas were very tight, not just as brothers, but tight in spirit, tight in mood, so much so that they married the same girl. And it worked out. It's a very rare occasion. Same thing happened with the Pandavas. These are exceptions. But it shows that when people are in a devotional mood and they try to serve the Lord and they have a unified purpose, then all seeming incongruities become resolved. So Krishna, he has appeared as Lord Nrsingadev in order to protect the devotees, to protect them from demons and to protect them from demoniac desires, which are like big elephantine vices. You know, vices, bad qualities. So they're like big elephants, but when the lion roars, rah! Then all the elephants, they flee, they run away, because the lion is the enemy of the elephant. One time I was in Siberia in 1996, and I'll tell you two stories. One devotee told how he was distributing books. They went to a faraway town, very far away, remote city in Siberia. And they had traveled there by train, and they had brought a lot of books. So they went to one hotel, and the lady said, no vacancy, no room. And it was very odd, because it was not busy season, there was not many people in town, there's nothing going on, and they could see she just wanted to get rid of them. They were not feeling welcomed. So they asked her, can we keep our books here and we'll look for another place? So They went, they found another hotel. The next day they came back to pick up their books. The lady said, you have to stay here. You have to stay here. I'll give you a room. I'll give you a free room. They said, this is kind of odd. Why all of a sudden this change of countenance, you know? Yesterday no room, today free room. Kind of strange, right? So they asked her, why? She said, last night I had this dream that this big lion came and he was roaring. He had big nails. And he said, I'm going to kill you. You did not take care of my devotees. So she was frightened. And she wanted them to stay there. They said, we already have a place, but you can get some books. So she bought some books. And then they moved their books to the other place. I also heard a beautiful story that some of you might know. One devotee was distributing books in Siberia in a city, and he met another devotee who was distributing books. And he said, Prabhu, from which temple are you? And the other devotee said, I don't know any Prabhu, and I don't know any temple. So he asked him, what are you doing here? And that devotee said, well, 2 years ago, I was on the street, right here, and I got this Bhagavad Gita. And I read it, and it's the best book I ever read in my life. And at the end, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, says that if you want to become dear to me, you have to give this knowledge to others. So he went to the copy shop, and he had 100 copies, Xerox copied, of the Bhagavad Gita. When was the last time you Xerox copied something? Probably 2 or 3 pages, right? Some form, something. This is a 1,000-page book. And he went out on that same street and he handed people the book and he said, look, this is the best book I've ever read. I want you to have it. And it cost me this much to Xerox copy. Please give a donation. So I have a doubt. You know that to doubt is the sign of intelligence? You know that? Actually, I have many doubts, so I must be very intelligent. What is my primary doubt? What if all of us become useless? You know, history tends to repeat itself. Most of the spiritual, religious movements, they started out very revolutionary. They started out quite radical. And then after some time, they become a little more mundane. And then they kind of quietened down. And then they kind of became irrelevant. So what if we become a little too arrogant, a little too good, a little too nice, a little too self-absorbed, a little too argumentative, a little too fat, a little too cozy? What if this same thing happens to us? And we kind of lose the sense of mission, the sense of purpose, the sense of direction. It can happen to anybody, right? Why not to us? But then I hear stories like this and I'm convinced that somewhere in Siberia, somewhere in Patagonia, somewhere in the Sahel Desert, or somewhere in the deep, dark woods of the Bavarian forest, somebody will find a Bhagavad Gita. And they will read it. And they will decide, hey, this is the best thing I've ever read. This is the truth. And we need to give this knowledge to the people. And they will start the Sankirtan movement again. Just from that one book. It's possible. Yet we're already here. So why not just continue and improve our Sangha, improve the quality of our relationships, improve the quality of our practice, improve the quality of our outreach and our inreach. Because otherwise, we'll end up with a bunch of nice churches, with a few old ladies, and a couple of priests. Have you seen this scenario? It's there all over the world. I just spent 4 months touring Latin America, Central and South and Caribbean. And you have a church on every block. On every block. They're in garages, they're anywhere. Yet, for the most part, they're busy about 1 or 2 hours a week. And the rest is dead. Huh? Yesterday we were in the great city of Linz. And we appreciated that wonderful church that was there. Took probably more than 100 years to build. Massive church. Can you imagine you work on a temple and you know that you will never see the opening. You will never see the completion of this project. Can you imagine that? It's a little hard to imagine, isn't it? You know that maybe my grandson will be there for the opening. The natives had a saying that if you do something important, you should consider 7 generations. 7 generations ahead. How will this impact 7 generations from now? Now, of course, we're in the instant gratification society. This is postmodernism, 2023. I want it all and I want it now. And we're pecking on our phones like birds are pecking. And if we don't get that reply, we don't get that immediate response, that dopamine that kicks in, then we become upset, we become angry, we become disappointed. But as we move on our bhakti path, we realize that maybe it's going to take a little longer than this afternoon. Maybe it may take a while. So here we see the Kumaras in Lord Shiva's association and Kuvera. And what are they doing? They're doing Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantas chadridavrata namashyantas chamam bhaktya niktya yukta upasate. They're hearing and chanting about Krishna. Because that's the activity of the devotees. They're hearing and chanting about Krishna. And thus, they're always enlivened. They're always inspired. Because Krishna is very enlivening. He's very inspiring. So these are some reflections on today's verse. We have time for questions, comments, or elaborations. Yes. Could we keep that door open? Thank you.
We usually stress the power of sadhu sangha and simultaneously also the individuality and self-reflection. And I was listening to a class from Bhakticharu Maharaj, and somebody is asking about this question, like I don't know her name, from the Avanti Brahmana story, where there is a lady who she's rolling chapatis or preparing something in the kitchen, and she takes all her ankle bells, or what do you call them?
The bracelets.
The bracelets.
Not the ankle bells.
Not the ankle.
The bracelets.
And she takes off all her ankle bells, and the
name is not given. She's just some girl who's supposed to get married, and some people come that are suitors. You know, suitors. They want to marry her, and so she takes them off because. Go on. Why is she breaking off her bracelets?
Yeah, she's breaking off her bracelets so that they don't know she's doing it herself, and that they are a poor family which cannot afford a servant and so on. So anyway, the moral of the story that what Maharaj is saying...
That people are trouble.
Yes.
As Kunti Maharani says, all difficulties come because of social interaction. Right. So
devotees are asking Maharaj that how are we preaching sadhu sangha, and at the same time one should be alone, or one should do spiritual practice alone? And the answer to that is that like when you're sitting among 100 devotees chanting in the temple room or something, still in one sense you are sitting alone. So I still don't really see the barrier or understand the
barrier?
Not the barrier, like the where to draw the line, which is like the time where I am now in sadhu sangha or now I'm alone. In like in spiritual practice, whether we are standing all together chanting in front of the deities, or distributing books together and so on, how to maintain that self-reflection and individuality, or let's say intimacy with Krishna while being in association.
Thank you for your sincere question.
I'm sorry if it's not too related to
No,
the topic.
it is related. As you can see here, Lord Shiva is absorbed in trance. He's absorbed in meditation. Yet still there is company of other saintly persons. So the two are not mutually exclusive. Solitude and sadhusanga are not mutually exclusive. It's not that you have to choose. Okay, right now I can't deal with you guys because I have to do my solitude. Srila Prabhupada, his life was an open book. He was accessible and available. At the same time, he chose to take prasadam alone because he was prasad seva. He was contemplative. And on other occasions, he would give darshan and anybody could walk in and ask him anything and be with him. For 2 hours every day, his door was open. Yet, when he was translating, he did so at midnight. So he was undisturbed. So we have to know when is the time for what. Otherwise we get confused. Sometimes we see devotees who say, hey, I have to chant my japa now, so I'm not going to go to class, and because I got to chant japa. Is it bad to chant japa? You don't want me to chant japa? Okay, I'll come to class. No, we have to know when is the proper time to do what. And then we see that they're actually quite conducive. They're actually supporting each other. If I don't have some time for reflection and some time for introspection, then how much can I truly value sadhusanga? It'll become more and more mundane. It'll become more and more about externals. Because I won't have the gravitas, the gravity, and the focus to actually appreciate devotees and to actually focus on the purpose, which is hearing and chanting about Krishna. Otherwise it'll just become mundane. And if I don't have sadhusanga, how focused and how deep is my bhajan? If I just do it by myself, most likely not that deep. One devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, I want to go to Radha Kund. I want to just sit there and chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said, it's not required. There's already enough monkeys in Radha Kund. So, sometimes our mind tells us, if I just be in Vrindavan, or if I just be in Mayapur, everything would be perfect, right? Right? Does your mind ever tell you that? No, never. So, the mind always wants to be somewhere else. It never wants to be where it's supposed to be. Because then it would have to surrender. Would have to surrender to the kata. Just like sometimes you're in a temple and you see that only like half or a third of the population comes to the morning program. And you think like, are they so busy working 24/7? Or are they just living here but actually they have other kinds of interests? Sometimes we may be here physically, but we may not really be here mentally and emotionally with our heart. So, to understand that there has to be balance. The main message of the Bhagavad Gita is balance. And if we understand that concept of balance, we can steadily advance on our path of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we'll avoid association of devotees and we'll also avoid solitude and really going deep into bhajan and study mode. Because then we say, no, I have to go now. I have to go now and do stuff. I have to go now and be with the people. And then when you're there, I have seen devotees, we went to India, and after 2 days they say, no, I have to go back. I have to go back. I can't be here. Why do you have to go back? I have to go and distribute books. Well, that's a good thing, but how is being in the Dham not part of that purpose, of that endeavor? You understand? So the mind creates these obstacles, and we may run into snags, we may run into trouble. But if we have devotee association, then We will reveal our hearts to our intimate friends and we say, look, this is what I'm facing, this is my scenario. Any advice, any suggestions, any insights in this? And they will be helpful. They will be, this is satsanga, truthful association. Not you're okay, I'm okay, but in our minds we think, he's useless, So, that is a requirement. Otherwise, not much advancement. It will take a very long time. Sometimes we think, I can only associate with brahmacharis, or I can only associate with book distributors, or I can only associate with God brothers, or I can only associate with people of my age group, or my nationality, or people who like the same foods that I do. But that is not sadhu sangha. That is a external. Srila Prabhupada came and he had no God brothers. So what did he do? He created devotees and that was his association. Now he invited his God brothers to come, but they didn't. So he created Sangha. So you can create Sangha wherever you are by establishing hearing and chanting in a very powerful, in a very focused way. And part of that hearing and chanting is also sharing the holy name. Because otherwise, when you see people doing festivals and it's all about holy name, and you say, can we go on Harinam? No, we don't do this. We just sit here in the room. That's not the mood of Lord Chaitanya. At night he was in Sriva Sangam and he would relish with his intimate associates, Prem Kirtan. And during the day they would go all throughout Navadvip, all throughout the 9 islands and spread the holy name, chanting and dancing. And he sent out his devotees, Ghare Ghare, door to door, spreading Krishna consciousness. So again the mind says, no, I'd rather do this. No, I like this more. And that's where the trouble comes in, that we're still on the mental and on the sensual platform, not on the platform of the soul. Because there, we would hanker for devotee association. Ramachandra Sange Mage Narottama Das. Narottam Das Thakur, he is hankering for the association of Ramachandra, his dear friend. So much so that he puts it in his song. I'm hankering for his association. How can you say that? You're supposed to be a pure devotee. You're supposed to be self-sufficient. You're supposed to be completely aloof, free from all this, Oh, I need this, I want this. No, he's saying, I want Ramachandra's association. Because they had very, very deep Krishna Katha. So, I don't know if this answers your question.
One point I like to say, maybe it's, you can summarize what you said is like sadhu sangha and introspection are kind of interdependent.
Yes, absolutely. One cannot really exist without the other. Because what kind of introspection do you have if your conclusion of your introspection is not sadhu sangha? Something went wrong in your introspection. You probably went down some rabbit holes, doing research. But you did not really do. Introspection means deep contemplation on Shastra, on the holy name, and on meditating on the mood and mission of Guru Parampara. That's introspection. And in a similar way, when we have sadhu sangha, we hear and chant about Krishna, and we share our hearts and our struggles, and we try to inspire each other in the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Yes, there is also time for fun. As we can see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, they went to the lake and they were splashing and doing things and having fun. But then Lord Chaitanya told Advaitacharya and Lord Nityananda, when they were fighting with each other, having these love fights, splashing water into their eyes, and he said, stop this, you're very, the most senior, most scholars, you're behaving like little children. But they continued because they were so much in ecstasy. So, Thank you. Other points? Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. The point that you brought with that when the books are out, everything can be created again, brought a very interesting thought in me, and it may be a good thing, or it may be a very good thing that we have, and people that we meet, we confront them with this very good thing, but what stops them to accept it is also this envy, that it may be a very good thing, but because you have it, I would be interested because I want to have it for myself. So my question for you is maybe how
I didn't get that. Where's the envy part?
the envy
Maybe
part.
it gets lost in translation.
Envy part is, for example, we.
Who is envious of whom? I didn't. Really.
The people we preach to, people we meet, we introduce them to Krishna consciousness. Maybe they read about the movement on the internet, wherever, and there may be this understanding. This is a very good philosophy. This is a very good thing, but there is still this envy, and I can see it for myself. I want to have it for myself, and I'm envious of these people who are living it. You know, maybe this is I don't know. This came up in my mind. So maybe this would be very. But if you know you can have it for yourself, for your own, and then you very easily accept it and practice it. For example, you got a book, and you know you're the only one. No one else is like living it, having it, and then you're open to accept it. But if this envy is there, you may be close to accept it.
Nobody has a monopoly on envy. Preachers have to be careful not to become envious of the people that they're trying to benefit. If you're thinking, oh, I want what this person has, it makes you incapable of showing compassion, kindness to them. And they can sense it, they can feel it. Sometimes it's a really weird mixture when people try to glorify you, they admire you for what you have, at the same time they envy you, and thus they hate you. So, in whichever form envy may manifest, the antidote is selfless service. That's why are we asking people for donations? We don't need the money. We don't. Because Krishna already owns everything. And there's no lack of resources. Have you ever wondered when Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, don't give this knowledge to people who are not austere? Remember? Don't give this knowledge to people who are not austere. How do you make people austere? Show me the money. You mean like now? Yeah, like right now would be a good time. Show me the money. That makes them austere. And by that little bit of sacrifice, by that little bit of austerity, that's the buy-in. They actually qualify to. One time, His Grace Sheshika Prabhu, one of my mentors, he was distributing books, and there was a young couple, and they really wanted to have the book, but they said, we don't have any money. And they were kind of into drugs and stuff, but they were really attached. They got interested because he presented to them the book, so they really wanted to have it. And he said, look, it's a principle that if you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, this helps you to actually enter into the knowledge and to gain benefit from it. So you got to give something, even a penny. One time he went door to door, and there was a man, and so the man said, I can give anything? I can give a penny? 1 cent? And he said, yeah. So he went into the apartment and he told his wife, I need a penny. And she said, why? What do you need a penny for? And he said, there's this guy at the door. He gave me that book and I want to give him a penny. She said, show me the book. And she looked at the book and she said, you idiot, you want to give him a penny for this book? You go and give him $50. So he came back out with a $50 bill. So if you're willing to take whatever. Anyway, this young couple, they said, we don't have anything. They were searching their pockets and everywhere. And then the man said, yeah, but I have this. And he had a lighter, a fancy lighter, like the ones Now you're using like real high tech, like real, like blowtorch type of things. That's a new thing. But then it was just a fancy lighter, like really well decorated and ornate and something. And he said, I have this. And Vaishekha Prabhu said, I take it. And she said, no, we need this. Because, they're smokers, so. But he already dropped it and he already surrendered it. So they got the book. And Vaishekha Prabhu says, then now every time he's doing his Shalagram Puja, he cleaned the whole lighter and made it really paka clean, as he puts a few extra drops of water every time. And when he lights the incense and the lamp, he's thinking of this couple, that they're involved here in the Seva Puja, and they'll get the benefit from that. So, I was in Udupi and Dr. Kamat, he told me, Ayurvedic doctor and professor at Manipal University, he said, Ayurvedic doctors are not very good. And I know, I'm training them, and I'm one of them. He said, the medicines nowadays, they're not good. And the patients, they're really not good. They don't do what we tell them to do. But there's one good thing. I said, what is that? He said that simply by chanting Hare Krishna, you can achieve the highest perfection. I said, doctor, are you a Hare Krishna? And he said, of course I'm a Hare Krishna. Because in Udupi, everybody is a devotee of Krishna. When he got books, he stood up, he took off his shoes. He's a bachelor, I saw it. He had holes in his socks. And he held the book at his head, and with both hands, he handed over the donation. In Udupi, everybody goes to have darshan of Krishna at least one time a day. Even though they may work jobs, office, business, somewhere. Once a day, they go to have darshan of Krishna. Even if they have no time, opposite the deity in the wall, there is a little hole, a little opening. So they'll stop their scooter or their car or their bicycle outside. They step out. They take off their shoes. They go in front of that hole. They say, Hare Krishna, I'm an idiot. I have to go back to the office. I love you. And they rush off. But they have that bhava that I need to see my Lord every day. Now sometimes we live in a temple or in a holy place and we think, I don't need to go for darshan. I don't need to go for class. I don't need to go for Mangalarti. Den Seinen gibt's der Herr im Schlafe. No? The Lord gives to His own kind in their sleep, So I don't have to endeavor. I don't have to struggle. You see? I'm liberated. I'm initiated. What does it mean, initiation? It means to initiate. It means to begin. It means I'm a beginner. Not I have reached perfection. I'm a beginner. But oftentimes, because our mind is very powerful and it tricks us, we start thinking, oh, I'm the preacher. I'm the one who is doing something here. But sometimes we got it all wrong. Mostly we got it all wrong. And Krishna very kindly, very mercifully reminds us through the people. One time I arrived in San Francisco and I had one small book left and I thought, no book left behind. This book must find its recipient. And I approached a young gentleman, rather darkish color, so he looked like kind of Asian or Indian, I don't know. And we stood there waiting for our bags, and he just didn't react, he just didn't respond. He was totally ignoring me, which is the opposite of love, indifference. Ooh, it's tough. If people pretend you don't exist. So I asked him, do you speak English? And he really started tripping. He really got upset. Then later his father came over to me and he said, my name is Jagannath. My son felt offended because you asked him, do you speak English? And I said, I'm really sorry that your son feels like that, and that was not my intention. But he was not paying attention, so I had to say something in order to catch his attention, which I think I did. But I realized that, why is Krishna doing this to me? Jagannath came over to tell me, cool down, boy, don't worry. Somebody will come and will get that book, but it's not this fellow here, okay? So, we have to become Krishna conscious. That means aware of Krishna in all circumstances. Otherwise, as long as we think this is a one-way traffic, and then not much advancement, not much progress. But envy is eradicated through selfless service. So when I see that I have certain tendencies and I have certain shortcomings, I may still have the tendency to speak bad about others. Then with the same mouth, I should learn how to glorify devotees, speak nice things about them. And as Mama used to say, if you got nothing good to say, then zip it. Then just keep quiet. Last question? Yes. How long is class usually? 9 or?
Usually 9.
Okay, so we still got a couple of minutes. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. You talked about sadhu sangha, and that sadhu sangha and sadhana can only go together like this, that we get deep in our sadhana. And what do you mean by sadhu? Or what is a sadhu?
Sadhu.
Yeah.
Sadhu is a truthful person, is a saintly person because they are truthful, they associate with Krishna, they engage in spiritual practice, they're non-duplicitous. You know duplicity? It means they don't have an ulterior motive. They're not making a show. Just like if somebody comes and says, oh, you're so great, you're so wonderful, then you have to check your pockets, like, is my stuff still here? Because ati bhakti chorero lakshan, that too much devotion is the sign of a thief. If it's too good to be true, do you ever get a message that says, hey, I'm the prince of Nigeria, and I inherited $500 million, and you just have to pay me $25,000, and then you will get, $150 million. And then you think, oh yeah, that's a good deal, that's really a good investment. You're laughing, but I know many devotees who fell for stuff like that. Who bought shares in gold mines, who went into Ponzi schemes, this, that, the other thing. If it's too good to be true, as they say in poker, if you don't know who the sucker is, it's you. Pardon my French. But we should not be fools. We should not be naive. So sadhu is a person who is not duplicitous. He doesn't have an ulterior motive. He doesn't want to just get your vote or your money or your membership. But a sadhu is surit, like Krishna. Surit means your well-wisher. He only has your true well-being at heart. Just like when you get advice or when you give advice. Don't tell people, just do what I do and you'll be fine. Because why does that not work? Oftentimes. Because people are different. People are individuals. And we have to understand the principle in order to apply the detail. So sadhu is not a person who tells you, do this, do that, go here, do this. But a sadhu is a person who understands Krishna's plan and cooperates with Krishna's plan. Not having an individual agenda. That's why it's good if the sadhus can stay out of management for the most part. Because otherwise there's a conflict of interest. I can't be your boss, your business partner, and your friend, and your mentor. Some of these are conflicting. We have to understand that. Which also means that we should not force our spiritual masters to be our business consultants, our marriage consultants, our shrink, because some of those may be conflicting with their role as being our spiritual guide. Okay? Yes, Ramananda.
you mentioned earlier that Srila Prabhupada, he created his own Sangha because he didn't have Sadhu Sangha.
Yeah.
But with this came a very powerful, there was actually a very powerful move because he used all these young people with all this young energy, and with that energy he gave them an order and a blessing. But nowadays, and you said this also, become maybe that you're afraid we become a little lazy or something like that. Something of this mission spirit is lost, that we, or I don't want to put the older generation, but it's a little bit like very reserved and not really using young energy.
We are the older generation, Baba. Welcome to the club. Huh?
Yeah, no.
We are the status quo. We're the ones who are hugging the mic. We're saying nobody can do nothing here as long as I live. And guess what? We're not going to live that long.
Well, yeah, that's true, but it's hard that I have a mic.
It's what?
It's hard that I hold a mic.
Hot?
It's hard. It's not often that I hold a mic.
Yeah, yes. But holding the mic is a symbolic thing for saying, like,
I know, you said this yesterday in the class.
I hold a position, I hold, a certain space, and we think nobody can surpass me. Nobody, What does that mean? It means we have not understood parampara. We have not really read and understood the books that we're distributing. Otherwise, we would understand that Krishna can empower anybody. Just like Prabhupada was happy to see his disciples, from an external point of view, do much greater things than he did. Because he was moving quietly, he was writing books and, talking to a few people. But through the empowerment of Prabhupada, so many wonderful things have happened. And it is whose credit? It's his credit. Because it's his power, it's his potency. But you should finish your question. I don't know. I think it's okay. It's okay? Mm-hmm. So now we're in a situation where some of us are getting older, and sometimes this comfort zone moves in, right? Where we think like, I know this, I'm established, I figured out who I am and what I'm going to do. But Prabhupada made sure that he would challenge the status quo. He would tell people, okay, now, like for instance, to give you an example, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was very instrumental in orchestrating Sankirtan in many parts of the world. Then at one point there was some difficulty in America, and there was a lot of pushback. So Srila Prabhupada called for him and he told him, you have to leave, you have to go somewhere else. And he said, it's not possible. I mean, they depend on me. We're doing so much is going on. You want to... Prabhupada said, you have to go. He said, where should I go? I mean, should I go to China? Prabhupada said, yes, China. You should go to China. You said it. Huh? And then for 3 days, Tamal Krishna Maharaj came to Prabhupada to try to talk him out of it. He tried to argue with him, to get him to drop that idea. Till at the end, Prabhupada became furious. And he said, either you go to China, or you sit in Mayapur and you chant Hare Krishna and you don't talk to anybody. He went to China. He started alone. He just went to universities. They had English corner where people like to speak English. And he just talked with people. Not distributing big amounts of books, not leading big groups of devotees. He just spoke with people who wanted to speak English. And he made many Chinese devotees, thinkers, leaders, who are now expanding the Sankirtan movement in China. So sometimes what looks like a very difficult situation, like you mentioned, sometimes we get stuck in a certain organizational mode. But Krishna has a plan and he's orchestrating his plan. I don't know if that addresses your question. You look very thoughtful.
Not really, but I mean, it's not really. But it was interesting points.
Yeah. So what did you want to hear about?
I think it's maybe not for class. So.
You think? Okay, last one. We can continue our discussion.
As a similar topic that you mentioned, there's sometimes I heard this was a seminar about how movements go to this different
Stages.
pragmatics, the very pragmatic leaders there.
Charismatic.
A charismatic phase, and then the next phase is less charismatic and more trying to fit in. My question is, how do we? Because the goals that we have, like in the beginning, remember when I was in Gurukul still, or also when I was a brahmachari, very often we had unrealistic ideas. You could say, like we can conquer the world. The golden age is coming. So how do we not lose the scope of the grand thing we still have to achieve?
Excuse me. There has to be a balance between tradition and innovation, and also between youthful exuberance and enthusiasm and wise diligence. They're perfectly reconciled in Krishna consciousness. We need this strive and drive and trying to conquer the world. At the same time, Prabhupada was happy to start small. He had a great sense of urgency, yet he was happy to start small. He was happy to deal with whatever Krishna gave him and whatever Krishna allowed him to do every single day. He was not rushing it. It was not in a hurry, so to speak. At the same time, there was a great sense of urgency, great sense of need. So what is the secret formula? To push oneself instead of pushing others. To be strict in one's spiritual practice, and kind with others. He creates a certain vortex, just like Srila Prabhupada, according to Giriraj Swami, when I met him in Carpinteria, California, he told me in our talk, we spent a few hours together, he told me that Prabhupada's heart was completely open. He was unconditionally loving. His heart was open for everybody. At the same time, he was completely detached. He was completely detached. He just shared Krishna consciousness, and whether people took it or not, he was detached. And that combination was very attractive. Because normally when we love, we have a certain idea, a certain agenda, a certain kind of expectation. And if we don't get what we want, then no good. But to truly be loving and being totally detached means you have to be so saturated with Krishna consciousness, so blissful in your spiritual resolve that nothing can faze you. And believe me, people tested Prabhupada. They tried him. They really tested him. So, we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate. So you never give up this drive that, yes, it's possible. Now, how the world will be conquered by Krishna consciousness, that's Krishna's plan. What part, what role we can take in it, that depends on our dedication, on our sincerity, on our surrender. Prabhupada was happy to play his part, and so should we. Now for the people that meet us, you are the representative of Parampara. If you go out and you share Krishna consciousness, Like you, Ramananda, you're the priest. For them, you're the guy. You're the dude. You're their link. You're all they got. And so they're fully dependent on you. It's like being a heart surgeon, you know? It's like a life or death situation. Am I in my best state? Certainly not, speaking for myself. So, yes, that aspiration should be there. At the same time, we also have to have a certain level of detachment. Otherwise, frustration can set in pretty fast. And all of a sudden, the brahmachari turns into a brahmastra. Have you seen these kind of experiments where brahmacharis turn into brahmastras? And either they exploded or imploded. And so, that's why it's good to have elders like, you know, Akila Prabhu and his good wife and others, you know, people who have been through life, who have seen the different stages and can say, okay, I think you got to cool it down a notch or two. Or who can say, hey, it would be nice if you step up your game a little bit, you know, and try to expand, you know. Okay, you're mid-30s, maybe you should not start writing on your autobiography right now. Maybe you first want to go and live life a little bit before you start on that, you know, on your own brand project. That's why we need sages, seniors. It's very much required. But we also need the gutsy youth who says, yeah, we'll take on the world. We're going to do this, you know, like, if not this afternoon, at least by Sunday, you know, like, we're there. We're going to do it. Because otherwise, if everybody's already given up, then what's the point? Balance. Balance is key. It takes a village to raise a child. So I would like to thank all the inhabitants here in Singhachalam for creating that village and that sadhu sangha, that we can come and visit and see there is some hope, there is some sanity in this vast ocean of the material world. And there is benevolence. Krishna is very kind and his devotees are much kinder so still. And Krishna makes himself the property of his devotee. Akinchana gochara. Somebody who doesn't claim proprietorship, who doesn't claim vested interest. Krishna says, I become his or her property. And he allows himself to be distributed by these devotees. Like Lord Chaitanya said, I'm Vasudev Datta's property. He can go and sell me in the market. I don't care. I'm his man. So, we're blessed, we're very fortunate that we met personalities like that in our life. And as a token of gratitude, let us accept their gifts, share it amongst ourselves, and then distribute the overflow, distribute the encore, the extra to others. If you tell people on the street that you're getting up before a certain time, they're like, what? How can you do that? Then you're like, yeah, it's called practice, spiritual practice. And then after you've done your practice, then is playgroup time. Then you go out and you have fun and you just give freely to others. Because I already got what I needed. I already had my solitude. I had my bhajan. I had my study. And now I feel fortified to share Krishna's kindness with others. Just like here you can see Lord Shiva, the Kumaras, and Kuvera. They're hanging out together, doing bhajan, doing sadhana. And then they go out and preach. Very soon, later here, you hear Lord Shiva is preaching. The Kumars are preaching. They're preachers, but they're also sadhakas. So, same thing. Thank you for your kind attention and hospitality and patience. It's been a riot being here, really blissful, and you are very, very blessed to be here in this holy place of Singhachalam, the lotus feet of Shri Shipala and Shingadev. And I pray at their lotus feet that all your spiritual desires are fulfilled, and He may remove all the obstacles on your path, and you may expand this community beyond limits. Hari Om Tat Sat. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Sadhu Sangha ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bo. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu